Life is so busy. If you blink, you can miss something amazing. It's important to take a moment and enjoy what we have and the people around us. I'm Mo Hagan, Chief Operating Officer for CanFit Pro, and welcome to A Moment with Mo, a podcast where I will welcome some incredible guests to talk fitness and nutrition, mindset and self-empowerment, setting our goals into action, and much, much more. Now let's get chatting. Hello and welcome to this special episode, A Moment with Mo. And I'm your host, Mo Hagan. I can't wait to dive deep into conversations around health, wellness, personal and professional growth. Also, I want to just share that this episode of A Moment with Mo is super special. You'll know why shortly, but it really taps into why this episode exists to begin with. And let me hold that thought for a moment. I want to start off by saying that each guest that comes to the show brings their lived experiences and unique perspectives, making each episode unique, meaningful, and uplifting. And for this show, we're really going to dive deep into the purpose of why we each exist in this world, serving the world with our talents, and also leaning into our courage, our lived experiences to help uncover why we exist, but also how that can propel us forward in our purpose to serve the world. And my mission to create and inspire global change has been a lifelong pursuit. And it really crystallized about a decade ago when I engaged with a coach who helped me reflect on my life and my work and career. And in doing so, I was able to really align my actions with my deepest aspirations. The outcome of that is understanding my why, that core purpose that drives my actions every day and my contributions to the world. And this is where, when you know why you exist, it does inspire and also influence others to dig deep to understand their why. But more importantly than discovering it is sharing it with the world. Because when you do, I like to say the universe is listening. And when you know why, the way appears. My guest today is a longtime friend, a industry colleague of many decades. We started very young, and a dear mentor who has influenced my career, and we'll talk about why. But let me introduce you to Libby Norris. And welcome, Libby.
Thank you, Mo. And it's so wonderful to be here with you. And I was wondering how you were going to lead that in with a longtime friend like that.
Good. And I teased it a little bit by saying why you are a mentor to me. And I know you'll know this, but I want to just share quickly your bio, because for those who haven't had the opportunity to know you, work with you, and be impacted by your incredible work, let me take a moment just to introduce everyone to Libby Norris. Libby, oh my gosh, you have over 3 decades in the fitness industry with your experience that's so multifaceted. Libby's scope has included corporate wellness, entrepreneur, education faculty, international presenter, author, boxer, and 12 years as Canada's AM fitness correspondent. Currently, Libby serves as the manager of fitness and therapeutic programs with the city of Mississauga. And in addition, Libby is part of Your Fitness Sisters, providing innovative training, resources, and education for fitness, inclusion, and older adults. I got to say, that is one of the most diverse and colorful bios that I have been privileged to share in a very long time.
Well, I'd say you have a long list too, because we are getting into that almost 4 decades. And it really, I think it speaks to our experience and our lived experience, as you said, because we have this amazing opportunity in our industry to change and constantly grow and try different things and impact people in different ways.
Oh, yeah, an impact. And with our passion to serve the world, with our why, we impact by inspiring people to lean into their courage and their personal mindset and to tap into resources that are their gifts. You have such a gift of being an educator, an amazing teacher, and you inspire through the actions that you take every day when you step on a stage or in a corporate, boardroom. And I'm always amazed at how you can, really transition your skills over to so many different areas, which has made you very versatile as we embark on our 4th decade in this incredible industry.
But it really does speak to what you said about, finding 10 years ago, really discovering what your purpose is. And I think we all started in this industry and we led with our passion, which was phenomenal. But because of that, we very innately followed a path. And then as we grow and evolve, it gives us the opportunity to reflect. And then you can really dive into the why behind that passion. So whereas, we got into this industry and we're teaching fitness, that's not really what we're doing. We're not leading fitness, we're educating. And, we may not be leading a class, but we're inspiring. And as soon as you identify those core values, skills, and missions, it gives you the opportunity to use those skills in a transferable way in other areas. And sometimes that leads you to a bigger, broader purpose as well.
Absolutely. And knowing that, it also makes you a much more impactful educator because you're actually teaching the why behind the why and going to the core values of why you are the fitness professional or the teacher or the corporate executive that you are, or that consumer that you inspired many mornings on your show with Canada AM. I remember following you and learning from you. And I do want to say, because I teased it off the top of the show, that you are a mentor for me in many ways, but you inspired me to step into the ring and learn boxing as a fitness conduit to the program development that I was privileged to lead at Good Life Fitness. And we brought boxing as a group fitness concept into the studio. And you're going to help remind me how long ago that was, but it still remains as a popular group fitness concept today, boxing and mixed martial arts. And so thank you for that, because you really did help me find my inner power and how to use it in a really fun, engaging way. How many years ago was that I took boxing training from you?
You know what, Mo, it goes further back than that. And I'm not sure if you even remember, because it really does go both ways with that inspiration. I think our industry is phenomenal with that because, everything you're saying, I'm hearing, and, you inspired me. You started me, for heaven's sakes. And I'm not sure if you recall this, but at a fitness club in Hamilton, a mutual friend of ours invited you because at that point, yes, boxing for me, and I can really say this with all sincerity and heart, boxing changed my life because I was working in a corporate fitness center and I was kind of bored with just the regular mainstream fitness. And one of the members asked about getting a heavy bag, and I knew nothing about boxing except you could probably hurt your hand on it pretty easily. So I walked into a boxing gym and I was nothing short of amazed because this small petite woman was pounding the heck out of a heavy.
Wow.
See how I filtered myself there? Just pounding a heavy bag. And what struck me was I couldn't believe, and this is going to come up later, I was in awe at how such a tiny person could have such power. And it really was learning how to use that power. So I was drawn into boxing, and little did I know she was the only female there. So, we changed in a closet at the boxing gym. And the more I learned about boxing, the more I was enthralled, not just about boxing. It really drew me in because it was so much about life as well, because we're all so much stronger than we know. But it really is learning how to use our skills and ability when and where we need, and not to overuse them in other ways. Like boxing, it really is that sweet science. As a sport, it's probably the most well-balanced activity I've ever known, aside from the punching each other. But when you look at the physical skills and ability, you have to be fast, but you have to be thoughtful. You have to be powerful, but you have to be agile. You have to be strong, but you have to be like fast of foot. So all of your abilities have to be in this fine balance. And it isn't always about showing your power. It's about using your power wisely and really utilizing it in the most efficient and effective way for whatever situation you have. Because if you're a boxer and you're using all your power and your might in each and every punch, well, you're not going to last. So to me, and it didn't strike me, I just always found it interesting because my boxing coach had his PhD in exercise physiology. So he always explained the physiology behind each of the punches. So that at the time I found so fascinating. But after reflecting, even now, because I still have my heavy bag at home, I still love it. It really is more of an analogy for life and our work in fitness. And, you know, you and I and so many of our other colleagues who have been doing this for a very long time have found ways and different avenues to not only build our own skills, but to broaden who we reach. Now, that was like a side story, but back to your impact on me, Mo. So it was in the 90s. This mutual friend of ours invited
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
To come see, because I was doing a workshop. I was running around teaching boxing. So when I fell in love with boxing, I just wanted to share it with everybody else and say, hey, you should do this. And this was before Taibo hit. And, you know, I ran around doing workshops for free, and he invited you to come see. And then you invited me to my very first CanFit Pro. And I don't even think it was titled that at the time, as an innovation session. And so boxing changed my life, but that moment changed my life because you invited me there. And from there, I met Blanche, I met sponsors, and then I became the boxing person, and that enabled me. That was what gave me notoriety and the appeal to be invited onto the Reebok University faculty.
Oh, wow.
All of that, Mo, started that day in Hamilton.
Oh my goodness. I just got chills.
I know, right?
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing? So here you're saying, well, I inspired you. Mo, you started it.
Oh.
And I was so nervous that whole weekend, and I'd never done a presentation before. I was wearing my mic belt on the wrong way. Like I had no clue what I was doing.
Oh my gosh. I absolutely remember that. As soon as you said that I met you in Hamilton by a mutual friend, I know exactly. And I can almost remember the moment. And what I love about this is it edifies what I had said about when you know why, even if you don't know what the hell you're doing. I just said it.
Right.
Because it's one of my favorite books. You know, I know why, but you know, even if you don't know what the heck you're doing, as long as you know why and you trust in your courage, your gifts that you're given, the way will appear. And you courageously stepped into that moment, having never presented, and you just don't know who you're going to meet and what that episode is going to, how it's going to propel you forward.
Oh.
And it's always a combination of how you choose to show up. And I heard a great quote this week by our dear friend, Todd Durkin, be in the room. And being in that room, we got to meet each other, and we've look at what we've been able to collaboratively create, because without you and other presenters who said yes, especially back then, because none of you got paid, it projected our careers for all of us. So thank you for sharing that, because, you know, it is a time of year, especially in the fitness industry, where we all come together for our learning and upskilling before the big, you know, second new year of the year happens in the fitness industry, which is September. And, you know, it's great to talk about just why it's so important to show up and to step into your courage and to grow your own community and find your why, and then build from that to understand what your gifts are. So that's super cool. I love that. And probably a great segue, because we women are talking with each other. I I wanted just to ask, because in your bio, and it intrigues me, I know a lot of the work you do, but remind me and share with our listeners, tell us about your Fitness Sisters and the work, what that organization's about, or what you've created there.
So that's one of those things you discover after. Yeah. So, we have been in this industry a long time, and I always pause and reflect and appreciate. There's not a lot of industries you can say I was there from the beginning. Now, we weren't there right from the absolute beginning of fitness, but when it hit its heydays in the 80s, we were all there. And what a gift it is being involved. And none of us knew what we were doing, but we had the gift of being involved in helping to change that, in helping to develop and grow that. Mm-hmm. So, that's been amazing. And boxing for me was that entry point into education and conferences and presenting and traveling around the world, for heaven's sakes. And that opportunity led to others. So it expanded the breadth of what I was presenting and doing that education. And it ends up becoming more than that. It's not just teaching a step class or a muscle class. It's about educating and elevating. And, so after 3 decades of presenting now, there were a few of us that came together and said, well, we want to continue doing this. And one of the new areas really is, 2 new areas, inclusion and older adults. And in my current position, we deal with both of those populations and serving and supporting a lot of underserved populations in the fitness industry. Because in the city of Mississauga, we get a lot of new people in that are too intimidated to go to a commercial club. So they come to a community center. And that's a good pathway to give them the courage and confidence to then step out to another area. But sometimes it's just staying there because that's their community, that's their safe space. We do a lot of hospital partnership programs where, our equipment's spaced out so assistive devices can manipulate and maneuver around. We do pathway programs. So if somebody's in a falls prevention program at the hospital, we move them in. So it was really identifying. We know we've known this for decades that we only get a small proportion of our greater population in our fitness centers and gyms. So, when I was in corporate, that was the target, is reaching out to people who wouldn't normally go to a gym. And that's kind of that's my unique area, I guess. And it's where I love to serve. So moving into municipality and municipal recreation really fit that too, because that's our market. That's our space. We try and reach out to those people who are underserved and wouldn't darken the door of a regular fitness club. So it's that inclusion and older adult population that is a high proportion of our membership in municipal recreation. So we saw this area where, and particularly a lot of newer instructors coming in weren't feeling as comfortable and confident teaching those populations. So we've had to really step back and do a lot of education, training, and just not that instructors don't have the skills already. It's shifting how they're applying those skills and giving them the confidence to work with somebody with COPD, work with somebody with diabetes, we have personal trainers who work with quadriplegics in our centers. Wow. That's inspiring to see, but it's getting more of our trainers more comfortable to work more often with those populations. So what we saw is, we've been, there's a group of us that have been doing a lot of presenting for a long time, but this was kind of a unique area where we feel more challenged and practiced. So we thought, what, at this point, we want to come together and do what we want to do what we love to do, which is educate and inspire and work with people we love to work with. So your Fitness Sisters sort of came together with Ruth and I initially. Because we always felt like, we team taught and presented for such a long time. So we were like, sisters from another mother sort of thing. And we called ourselves Fitness Sisters, and we kept joking about that. And then we started presenting with a couple more people. And then we started working with Michelle and Janice. And it's like, you know what? Let's just call ourselves your Fitness Sisters. Why? There's a good question, Mo. Why? Because your sister's somebody you trust.
Oh, perfect.
Right? And, we're your Fitness Sisters, and you also expand your sisters too, because sisters is like relation, but, sisters are, imagine how many women do we know, Mo, collectively in our industry that we would consider our sisters.
Oh,
so that in itself is inclusive, because although there's a core group of us that want to present together as your Fitness Sisters and specialize in these areas, it's not exclusive of anyone else either, or of gender, because, Dr. Ken is our long lost brother. That too. So it allows us the opportunity to expand and really draw in other people and professionals that we know and love and respect to work with us and collaborate with too.
Wow. I'm inspired.
That was
I
a
love
mouthful,
it.
wasn't it? Oh my.
That's so great though. You know what though, Libby, the backstory is what people love to hear about, because it gives meaning to why the business exists. The person who's leading that community exists, and it gives people it helps people relate. It gives them confidence that if that's the backstory that led Libby and her group of Fitness Sisters to do what they do today, I can do that too. It gives you confidence. And you know what it does though? It gives me a bit of a deja vu, which says a lot about you, because you've always surrounded yourself and been surrounded by incredible, diverse, talented leaders. And when you mention your Fitness Sisters of today, it reminds me of that, I don't know what to call it, but this powerful group of instructors that you were once part of. And I want to segue there, because at the top of the show, I said that together we were going to talk about her story. And I know that you were part of a incredible group of leaders back in the day when we had the wonderful, amazing Sharon Mann in our life. And Sharon Mann, for those who are not, who haven't been blessed, there's so many people still in the industry today who not only grew up with her. I know somebody that is up for an award this year at CanFit Pro, and they started their love for fitness with her show.
Yep. And there's probably a lot of people like that, right?
Yeah. And then there's people that are up for the award that we're going to talk about who only heard about Sharon Mann and never had the privilege or that gift of knowing her. But you have probably been as close to having Sharon as a Fitness Sister than Sharon has ever had as a sister. So I'd like to talk about this amazing woman, her story, Sharon Mann, because it does tie into a very special award that we created. And I give you credit, because without you on the phone talking about a backstory, without you on the phone almost midnight, the night before Women Who Influence in 2019, this award that is really represents the living legacy of Sharon Mann would not have happened. Let me tell everybody why. We knew that Sharon Mann was battling a long struggle with cancer. Well, we didn't know how long we'd be blessed to have her with us. I felt the need that year, a deep, driving need to celebrate Sharon with an award that was called the Women Who Influence Inspiration Award. And we put Sharon's name on that first piece of crystal, and we got to present that to her. And yet, I got goosebumps just saying this. And yet there were a number of people, which I'm so used to having, a number of people in my corner that tell me why we shouldn't do things. You are the one that really helped me through that. Well, I've heard from her closest friends that Sharon wouldn't feel comfortable with this due to how she was feeling at that time. And yet I called you, or you called me. I think you called me, then I called you, and back and forth it went. We went from, okay, we're not going to do this, to, okay, let's do this, to perhaps we shouldn't do this, to finally we decided together. And I give you credit because you did help me make, really decide, let's do it. And we had the opportunity of presenting that award, celebrating Sharon Mann, who truly is a fitness industry icon, entrepreneur, innovator, businesswoman, fitness sister to brothers. And she created businesses and really influenced the industry from all sides. And her story does live on through what we now have as the Sharon Mann Inspiration Award. And we give it out every year. But before I dive into more of the detail, I'd love you to sort of help us uncover a bit of the backstory of Sharon Mann and your experience working with her, because you were part of her business on many occasions. So tell everybody a little bit more about your story and your time with Sharon.
Well, and I think, as you said, like everyone who had the opportunity to work with Sharon, be with Sharon, was just inspired by Sharon. And one of my closest friends was one of her closest friends. So I feel blessed to have been connected that way. So we were connected through that dear friend, but also, as you mentioned, in business as well. So Calabrina had acted as our fitness agent mutually. And of course, everybody knew Sharon because, she was on TV. She had done these amazing things. She was an inspiration because she started just by showing up, being in the room and taking initiative, even when, like we'd already covered, even when you're not really sure what you're doing, because sometimes you just have to take that leap.
Yeah.
And, because she was so passionate, taking those leaps forward enabled her and Tim to create some amazing impacts in our fitness industry. So, I felt so excited because Calabrina had been acting as Sharon's agent and booking her for conferences and presentations around the world. So when I got called into that team, I felt so blessed. And it was a real joy to have the opportunity to work alongside her like that. And, remembering back in the heyday of conferences when we would just fly everywhere every weekend, What always struck me about Sharon is she made the most out of every moment.
She sure did.
Joy in every moment. And, I was wowed by her because I'm a huge introvert. I'm a situational introvert.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, and you and I have talked about this before.
Yeah, now I remember.
I don't appear to be an introvert, but I am. So I am out there on a stage, like large and, not hesitating at all. But, after those presentations are done, like I'm hiding in my room just to regroup. And Sharon was always the person out front saying, let's go here, let's go for dinner, let's do this, She had all these theme parties and dress up, and she was so inspirational because everyone around her was touched by that and motivated by that. And she changed and added to everyone's life, every area she got into. And then I had the opportunity to work with her on the Reebok team as well. And, she was different than the rest of the trainers by virtue of her style. And she always added to the story and to the scope of what any existing platform. She added to it just by virtue of her heart and soul. And I think that's where, it really was. And going back to the award, it really speaks to the pattern that I'm seeing and hearing here is, we jump into things even when we don't know what we're doing, and then we figure out how to do them better. And Mo, you and I conversing about Sharon in that first award was an example of that, because you felt it in your heart that you wanted to do that. And I was the in-between because I was calling Calabrina, who knows her best, and then relaying back to you, well, you know what, this is how Sharon's feeling. This is what she thinks would be best. And so it was floundering, but you do it because you know and feel it in your heart. And then you figure out a way to do it better. And that's what we've done in our industry. We didn't know what we were doing in the 80s, but now we've figured out we did our best with what we knew.
Yeah.
And then we were always open to learning and growing. So you could have like steamrolled and said, nope, this is how I want to do this because this is your baby. But you were open to hearing that feedback so that you could best deliver that why that was in your heart.
Mm. Mm. Oh, wow. Thank you for that. It brings me right back. And I want to share with you, I think of Sharon often a lot. Oh. And she reminds me to have way more fun, smile more. She always lit the room up. And every time I walk into a session, I always say, what would Sharon do? And I put on a smile, even if I'm tired, nervous, trying to corral everybody else and keep things moving. But I always remember Sharon lit up the room every time she walked in, and she always had, every moment was a joyful moment. And I was always amazed by that. Even if she was mad at you, she found a way to bring humor into the situation.
Yeah.
She'd tell you how she felt. But she always had that, brought it around to the funny sides. Oh man. And there's certain places I go in the world where when I walk the street, I feel like I'm walking beside her.
Aww.
So we got to travel there, and shop together. And I'm going to laugh because when we shop, she'd find the funniest things to buy, and it was a side of her that not everybody would see because they only saw the, her or the, on the stage is that, oh my God, it's Sharon. And they didn't see the other side of her unless they got the privilege and the gift of hanging out with her and partying. And oh my goodness, we could go on forever to talk about that. But I'm so glad that we get to help. And this is the message I wanted to share. And I know you'll relate because I feel like this is how you show up every day yourself, Libby, is we love what we do. And rather than wait until our life is over to hope that our legacy lives on in the career that we've helped to shape for hundreds of thousands of people, that we get to live it every day versus leave it for our life after us. And I believe that this award, and it doesn't have to take an award for your legacy to be living or be too shared every day. It's living by leading your why. That's your living legacy, in my opinion. But we do get to help keep the legacy of Sharon and also her teachings alive and her role modeling and her ability to demonstrate courage, which it takes every human today more than ever to step into things that we do not know what we're doing. But if we know why, and we trust in the universe, we trust in our mentors, our peers, our colleagues. You mentioned trust right off the top. When people trust you, then they will risk trying new things. And that's what recognition of the Sharon Mann Award does. It allows us to recognize people who are doing just that. So,
well, and it's bringing a broader purpose to teaching a class or training a client. It really is, because you're not like, first, it's a joy to do this because we're the bright spot in everyone's day. Like, at the end of a class, people stand up and clap for you. I don't think accountants get that experience.
A standing ovation every time you go to work.
Yeah. There's no standing O for a spreadsheet. Like, you got to really wow a spreadsheet to get that. So it really is that give and take, and people don't clap like that unless you've given that energy. So it's such a mutual exchange in a fitness class. And, when we all start off, we're teaching a class and we're trying to wow people and, with the exercise or our cueing or our jokes. And really, it's just the overall experience. And now when we reflect back, what we really want to train, educate, and inspire instructors and trainers to do is to share more of that heart. You've got the skills, but now you package it together and you wrap it with your inspiration and your passion and your why. And that's what gives people the best experience. and changes their lives, because it does change people's lives. We get to go in and you might just change their day, but you might change your life. And when we look at this, at Sharon's award, she changed so many lives. We know people personally that said, like you just shared, they saw her on TV and it inspired them to get started in fitness. Well, how many people might be out there that aren't in fitness, but that she inspired just through those workouts on TV?
Oh,
And it wasn't her workouts, it was her smile and the way that she engaged people. So it's not the technical stuff that you do. That's important, absolutely.
mm-hmm.
It really is that underlying purpose.
That underlying purpose aligned with your unique gifts of those, what we call today, those essential skills.
Yes.
Sharon's empathy and her ability to, express joy and teach people how not to take themselves so seriously, even though she would kick your butt in any workout or workshop. But you talking about those essential skills that we can teach, but you really gotta grow it within you in order to really be able to lead that way. I think it's actually harder for some to learn those essential skills than those technical skills. But it's when you're inspired by being in the room or aligning with people that, inspire you to take those leaps of faith, as you said. And that's where I'm so grateful that we have this award amongst many others. I mean, awards really are they are moments of edification to say the work that I'm doing matters. And the work that I'm doing creates impact for others. And who am I not to be, someone who wants to, bravely show the way forward? Who am I not to be recognized and as, successful as anyone else? So I do think that awards like this, whether they inspire you to learn the story behind the person, so it helps to connect your why with perhaps theirs and find that common ground within that. I know that when you share your why, your story, which is within your story, your why, it does move people to take those brave steps. And so these awards do also inspire people to take those brave steps. And I've witnessed it personally, and I've observed it personally, where I've sat beside people in an award ceremony and they watch that person be recognized and win that award. And then they look and they say out loud, without even realizing they're saying out loud, they said, I'm going to go for that. I'm going to aim to be that type of leader. And even if they don't, that aim for the moon. And even if you don't get there, you land amongst the stars, it propels you forward. And you may not otherwise find that, faith in yourself or the confidence in yourself to do it, but it's the why and the stories that you hear from those that receive such awards or, tell their stories that just moves you forward.
And even if somebody's not involved in the award, it just hearing it, and as you said, like hearing somebody's backstory prompts you to think about your own backstory.
Yes.
So it even if somebody's sitting in the audience and they're not thinking of applying for an award, it makes you stop and think and say, oh, I've done X, Y, and Z. And it makes you walk through that reflection and appreciate what you've done, because so often we should ourselves to death.
Yep.
And we say, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should be so many other places. I should be at a different level in my career. We think of those negatives far too often, and we don't pause and give ourselves credit for where we have grown, evolved, and had impact. And I think even if, because we know this happens too, even if somebody reacts negatively, well, why is that person getting an award? That still prompts them to do a comparison and reflection and give themselves credit.
Yep. Good.
So whether it's a positive or negative, it still ends up, I think it still ends up being a positive because it prompts positive self-talk.
Love that. And it's so true. So true. And that it also, for some individuals, it might just give them that little self kick in the wazoo to actually step into their greatness to a greater, to the next level. And it does without even realizing it. It gives you an opportunity to, really align with your deepest aspirations, whether it comes from that original place of feeling positive about the experience or, why them, not me. I'll tell you this though, and Libby, you know this as a fact, because you probably get to experience it yourself, is there are so many people within every industry that feel this sense of I'm a fraud or I'm not worthy. And they just talk themselves out of being celebrated. We should all celebrate our amazing moments every day. And that's something that Sharon actually did so well as well, right?
Oh.
She always had the moments of having fun and celebrating. And it didn't matter if it didn't, wasn't a perfect day. She always found a way to keep that smile on her face, even when she was not happy with the outcome. That always amazed me. I want to just move along because I know there'll be some folks who'll be saying, well, what's this award? When's it being presented? What? So let me share with this. And then I'm going to ask you, Libby, because it'll lead us into where we go next. We are going to be coming together very soon. And there is so much opportunity to be in the room and to celebrate and to soar to the next level of our why and, find the new path. And that new path happens sometimes without even realizing that we're walking on that new path, but it's the people that you meet that take you along that path.
Yeah.
You've shared some of that in your journey. I'm going to ask you in a moment to share what you're most excited about and why being in the room at conferences like CanFit Pro Global coming up very soon is, exciting for you and your career and your team. But I want to start by saying the Sharon Mann Inspiration Award will be presented this year at the opening ceremonies at CanFit Pro Global on Friday, August the 9th. That is part of our 2-day CanFit Pro Global conference and trade show. And it'll be an opportunity to celebrate those that have reached the top 3 finalist position. And when we get to celebrate them, a person will be declared as the recipient, as the winner this year. And Libby, I think you might know one of the 3 finalists. Would you like to hear the names?
I would. I think I know one of them.
All right. Well, I think the one you might know that we both think that we each think that we know is Tara Dinier from Mohawk College is a finalist for this award, along with Jessica Hastings L'Esperance. And she has a very incredible story. And last but not least, Jennifer Sawyer. And Jennifer is part of the story I told earlier, is someone who didn't know Sharon, but knew of her legacy and was inspired by that. Whereas Tara actually was inspired and worked with Sharon. Yeah. So it's from each extreme of that life continuum that these folks are being recognized, and we get to celebrate them and to announce the winner at the opening. We have a lot of other awards to present that get the opportunity to recognize some of those leaders that I know for a fact you probably trained at some point in your career. But do tell us, Lib, what are you most excited about, and what piece of advice could you give those that are still contemplating, should I go this year? Should I go to cottage? Why would I go? How's it going to help me soar?
Well, we all know that live events across the board people have been making different choices since COVID. Live events are fewer and farther between, but I think what we're really recognizing now, and I heard this on the news, like celebrating like live music is really making a comeback because it has such an impact. Yes, we can look online for, exercises and education, but there's nothing that takes the place of that live education and interactive opportunity. And what I look forward to the most has really changed at camp, because I've been to a few of these CanFit Pros now.
A few.
I think I've missed 2 in total.
Wow.
But yeah, I've been to everyone but 2. And they're all so important for different reasons. And when I first started off, it was all about, educating and opportunities. And now as you work through it, I'm always inspired by those technical pieces. I got so many great nuggets last year that I never expected, which is always fantastic. But it really is the networking and the connections that you can't do in any other venue but a live event. And it's those connections that are so important because, as you and I both know, after all these decades of being in here, that's what's important when you go back to these conferences. And when I have the opportunity to speak to new instructors, new grads in programs, it's like, you know what? Look next to you right now, because it's those people in 30 years that are going to be super important to you and your career. They'll inspire you, they'll propel you forward, and they'll be there to be your friends. Because I can say, like, each and every person that I hold near and dear right now, I started off working with in the industry or beside or somewhere related. And now I have, the privilege of calling them friends. Like, it's amazing how many people, and we've changed and we've moved like in different countries and provinces and cities. And yet you can still stay so connected because of those live moments.
Oh,
those, like when we were all sweaty and running for music and, trying to push our way through the trade show, those were the most memorable moments.
yeah. And where we met people that we never imagined meeting and how they've changed the trajectory of our life, our career, our community. Just back to the story that we shared off the top of the show was how we first connected in Hamilton at a session where you came in and I came in to see what you were teaching and how it has built this lifelong relationship, more importantly, friendship, and also opportunity to work together and to move the industry forward. And that wouldn't have happened,
and I know
otherwise.
every industry has their networking, but honestly, I just see our fitness industry is unique in that way because, it never ceases to amaze me because it doesn't amaze me, but it amazes other people when you say, oh, I know somebody for that. Oh, I know somebody for that. And they're like, how do you know that? Well, I just do because we've made those connections.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key part of a live event. And that's certainly what I'm looking forward to. And I also really look forward to seeing how those networking people have evolved and changed too. We can celebrate. So instead of saying like, why me? And I should be doing this and having that more competitive perspective with people that you work with, it really is collaborative because we're also crazy creative. We do things not knowing fully what we're doing. Like that is a pattern for us. But it keeps us on our toes. It keeps us interesting. It keeps us interested and interesting, but it also spurs us on to other things as well.
Yes,
so
it does.
Perhaps something that, I might be doing in boxing might inspire somebody to do in a different way with and think of a sport that they're in and say like pickleball and go, well, I love pickleball. Maybe I should do conditioning for pickleball. Like, so you find what you love. And if you can extrapolate that from an experience, well, this person is so amazing at what they're presenting because they're so passionate. It can inspire somebody to say, what am I passionate about? And how can I turn that around?
Guaranteed. We've seen it every time. Yeah. I hear stories all the time about someone who walked into a session, realized that they walked into the wrong session, and then they were captivated by what was going on in that session. And these individuals now have completely different careers that have just catapulted them into the industry as now the trainer of trainers. And it all happened from walking into a session and experiencing something new. We could talk about this for days, but we probably should soon wrap this up. But you spoke about the power of connection, being in the room. And you talked about pickleball. It's a great segue because guess what? First time ever, CanFit Pro, that is the Canadian Fitness Professionals, hosting the Pickleball Ontario Championship Series. And of course, the creative ones like Libby and some of the other folks we've talked about today. Libby's going to be teaching a conditioning session for pickleball. So Libby, take a moment just to share with the audience how people can connect with you. And if they're coming to CanFit Pro, or let me say, when they come to CanFit Pro, how can they connect with you in your sessions?
So yeah, absolutely. And this is, those just say yes, show up, say yes. Pickleball, none of us expected it to be this big, this soon. I remember like over a decade ago, a friend of mine in the States said, oh my God, pickleball is everywhere. And then, a few years later, it started exploding here. Well, in city of Mississauga, we can't find enough pickleball space. And new and different people showed up in our community centers because of pickleball. And that's where you have to say, okay, this is my opportunity then. Do I just try and pull them over? But you have to meet people where they are. So, we started looking at how can we engage this new audience that we have standing around waiting for pickleball courts? Well, let's invite them into our weight rooms and studios, but we have to give them something that they want. So we started looking at, how do we condition for pickleball? So I went online and I started seeing just very typical things. And then, again, it's that conversation with colleagues. So I was talking to Dr. Ken and he said, well, those are real standard, but what about the injuries? And I think, there's an injury session for pickleball too. So Dr. Ken and I are coordinating to make sure these are complementary and you can go to both of these sessions and then pull out of it. Well, if you want to avoid these injuries, do these exercises. So I didn't want to just duplicate the same exercises. I wanted to do it a little differently because you have, this, Mo, we have to stay unique, right? It keeps us on our toes because you have to stay fresh. So instead of just doing some lateral walks and getting, and those are great for pickleball, and make no mistake. It's like, well, what could I bring to it a bit differently? Well, again, our audience is a lot of older adults in the city of Mississauga for our membership. And, then I've got that network of working with Dr. Ken. We'll connect with him and talk about the injuries and how to best feather those two together.
That's
so that you're working with it. Yeah. So if you're going to come to one, come to both sessions.
Come to both. And we're talking about Dr. Ken Kanakin. He's been with CanFit Pro. He is a chiropractor. Has a massive background in powerlifting and weight training and injury assessment and program design. He was the recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award for his contribution to the fitness industry just last year after many decades of dedication. And so I love the fact that you're collaborating together because that's what Fit Pros do. And we're going to welcome everyone into the session because your session's actually being hosted in the trade show. So both consumers and Fit Pros that are coming as professional members can experience. And then Libby, we talked about you and the boxing background. You are actually, and you don't know this yet, but I know you're going to be part of the welcome workout.
Yes.
Because you signed up. But I have put you on stage with Yvette Raposo, who is the first Canadian female ring announcer as a boxer as well, and another one or two. And you're going to be able to lead off the HIIT boxing and cardio segment midway through the workout. So everybody can come and work out with Libby on the trade show floor. And I know there's more that you're going to be doing, but tell us quickly how people can connect with you. And then we'll close off the show with how you can get yourself registered and or learn more about the Sharon Mann Inspiration Award.
So definitely, connect. I'm not sure if Mo's putting the information on on the podcast, but I'm on Facebook, Instagram. It's a lib.inspired. My old company was called Inspired Energy. And I've kept that as my base because that's where I really feel that connection is to that inspiration. So interesting connection with the Sharon Mann Award as well. It's a real inspiration. So I think my Instagram is lib.inspired. I need to pick up my socks on social media, Mo, honestly. So if you Google, Libby Norris on Facebook or Instagram, that's where you'll find me. Not on X much, but we are starting more with Your Fitness Sisters. We're just launching that in full and we will have YouTube videos and all sorts of resources. But if you connect with me at CanFit Pro, you can get all of that information. So please, please, please come to those pickleball sessions because, they'll be wildly fun, entertaining, and educational.
Oh, fantastic. And you'll have a whole new market to put your business out to. And Libby and I can both tell you that when you become the specialist in this area of conditioning, it opens up doors all over the world for you
cute.
And beyond your community. And if you're happy just to empower your community to play pickleball better and longer and injury-free, then you want to be at that session. To learn more about CanFit Pro Global Conference and Trade Show, you can come as a professional member, or you can buy a ticket to the trade show where you can take these great workouts, watch the Ontario Pickleball Championship Series, learn all about fitness, nutrition, health, wellness, everything that you want and even more. Then you can go to www.canfitpro.com/events/global. And you can also connect through my website, mohagan.com, through all of my social channels. And do take a peek online at canfitpro.com. Scroll down to awards. We'll soon post the press release for the Sharon Mann Inspiration Award for 2024. If you'd like to learn more information about that award and how you and or someone that has inspired you, you can always nominate them next year. Thanks, Libby. It's so amazing. I'm going to bring you back so I can share this with you until we get to connect here. Can't wait to be in the room with you and all of you very soon. Thanks for showing up today.
Thanks so much, Mo.